Welcome to Bell Brothers Brewing, engineers talking about beers.
And today we're talking about the Duchesse De Bourgogne. Listen.
Denton, you like dissing?
Listen.
We tried to look that one up. No matter how many times you look it up, no matter how many times you hear it, you can't say it right. But the fact is, Duchesse is amazing. So what is Duchesse, Cody?
It's a Flemish red ale, which means it's a sour beer and a red ale kind of mixed together.
Flemish or Flanders?
It says Flemish red. But I think Flemish and Flanders are the same style.
They're close. No, this is Flemish.
Interesting, because it's listed under Flanders.
No,
Cool.
It says Flemish. Maybe that's like, so here's a question now for you guys, and maybe I'll put up a poll. Is Flemish or Flanders the correct way to go? And is that because it is United States versus UK? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in our series of Belgian beers that we like, because typically we don't, Duchesse is one of the Flanders or Flemish red ales that we've decided is fantastic.
And so is the BJCP guidelines. It's considered an exemplar of the guideline. So
what is a Flemish or Flanders red, Cody?
it's a red ale with a fair amount of sour notes. It's a big, sort of complex, mixed fermentation beer. They usually take a while. They're usually aged in an oak cask. In this case, the Duchesse is as well aged in an oak cask. They're very complex, very big beers. Despite not being that high in alcohol, this one's only 6%. It tastes like there's just so much going on.
Great. Let's get into it.
So it's dark, held up to the light. You can see notes of red. I can see notes of red. You can see brown.
It is. It's got like ruby hues to it. It's got those nice red characters. The head is like an off-white, almost tan. Tan is usually a lot darker and held to those stouts or porters. In this case, I'd say almost just an off-white. Still rocky. Obviously, it's got some lacing, which is kind of nice. I like that look. And the beer itself, kind of hazy in the sense of what it's looking at there. So
yeah.
Slightly hazy,
Maybe just
dark.
Condensation on the glass. Mine's pretty clear.
So
Hold it in your face.
Hold it right. So it's actually, I'd say, yeah, it looks really good. Very appealing appearance.
Yeah, very good. Aromatically, the first thing you really get is a lactic sort of tang. You can really smell it. It almost tingles and bites at your nose. You can really smell the acidity. There's a little bit of oak, so you can smell that cask that it was aged in a little bit. And then a hint of sweetness. I think that's what I really smell. What do you got?
No, I agree that lactic, the acid, the Flemish aspect of the red, that acidic bite is really what sings off the top, but it's not like a bad, right? Typically you would think acidic is like, oh no, that smells rotten or too far gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the terminology?
Infected.
Infected, there you go, that's a good one to say. So infected beer, sometimes they smell infected. In this case, I said, the smell really comes out as that lactic. It varies pleasing. It's almost
clean.
Semi-sweet. It is clean.
It's a clean sort of.
Your body doesn't naturally react to it as like a, oh my god, that's not good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's ooh, wow, that's different. That's interesting. Almost like when you crack open yogurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like that.
There you go.
The smell of yogurt. Right. Yogurty, but bitier. Bitier.
A little sharper than the yogurt. Let's take a sip. So it's still a red ale. Typically from this one anyways, right, it's Belgian, so it should be a Belgian red. I would expect more of that same yeasty character being in Belgian, but the Flemish aspect of that really takes over. The red ale, usually or typically is more of a neutral kind of balanced middle ground beer.
So up front, you got that lactic tanginess, like I was saying, but there's a smooth sweetness. Yeah, that. It tastes like that. There's a smooth sweetness. It's not too sweet. It balances well with the lactic bite. And then you've got a nice heaviness to it.
It is a full-bodied beer. It's got these good residual sugars that fill the body itself, sits on the palate. The carbonation isn't incredibly high.
Yeah, it's a medium.
Or it's covered.
Yeah,
or it's covered.
but I'm gonna guess medium-ish. Even if it was covered, you can kind of tell what's going on. This feels very medium. It gives it almost that velvety texture, you know, when you got a medium to, you know, in that range in a stout. When you got the just right carbonation in a stout and it comes off velvety like a Guinness, this has that sort of feel to it. It's got a tanginess that's fruit-like, but not any specific fruit. Right? It's just bright and tangy with a nice, you know, malty, Swedish background. It's a very complex beer, which is it's supposed to be. And you got those notes of oak going in there with the sweet and tart, and it all comes together to make a thing that is a uniquely Flemish red flavor. You can never describe a Flemish red till you had a Flemish red, because it is just such a different thing to so many other styles.
I think the caramels that you would normally get out of the red ale, that's a really medium body or medium mild style of red. In this case, when they've tarted it up, when they brought that sour lactic acid into it and really brought in the acid itself, that sharpness to it, it helps to bring out those, like the caramels, the sweetness plays into what your body would normally, your taste buds would normally think of like a fruit, but then you've got these very sour pieces of the fruit. So it balances really well to that, plus these little caramel backgrounds or caramel notes that kind of sing along on the beer itself.
I think the other thing is you don't really have much hop flavor. So you're, instead of having hops to balance the sweetness like you do in most beers, you have that lactic to balance the sweetness, and that's what really changes up the flavor. Is you're not having bitter and sweet, you have sour and sweet, and they're kind of working back off one another.
This is a damn good beer. Overall impression.
And when you got good beer, you got good beer.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. This is a great beer. Kind of follows in that tradition like the lambic. It's different, very different, but I think this is a beer drinker's beer. You wouldn't want to use this to introduce somebody to beer. This is something for someone who knows beer, who likes different craft styles, has kind of been in the beer culture for a while. They'll really appreciate what's going on here. Someone else might just taste it and go, well, that's weird.
Right. It's a very complex beer. Certainly not a beginner's beer, or at least you won't appreciate how good it is. It'll push away anybody who's a novice to beers. Unlike the other one, right, where our lambic was very much there's a beginner's beer. This would be an advanced beer or an expert's beer because of the complexities involved in it. But I think the complexities really amp it up as a great beer. That is why BJCP, which is the Beer Judge Certification Program, has ranked it so high as a pinnacle version of the Flemish Red or the Flanders Red itself. It's absolutely fantastic. It hits it well. 2 style, I think we both agree, 10 out of 10, right? Easy enough. And for Bell Brothers, obviously it's on here, so we're going to go ahead and rate it as a 10 out of 10 as well.
Yep.
This is a fantastic beer. It's one of our favorites. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration into Belgian beers for Bell Brothers Brewing. We're going to close off this series with this one. If you've got more beers or other series that you want, hit us up in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like, hit the subscribe, talk to us on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. And if there's a beer that you want us to try, give a shout out to that as well.
This has been Bell Brothers Brewing. Engineers talking about beers.
Cheers.
Now hold for a moment, boys. On your outtakes, the producer would like you to know that, ironically, Flanders is a location that is now spread out over a couple of countries in Europe. Flemish is an ethnic group native to Flanders, so essentially they are the same thing.
Oh, well, there you go. So Flanders and Flemish, same thing. Flanders is an area, Flemish is the people. Who would have known? So,
No, not a geologist. Geography guy.
Geography. So Bell Brothers didn't know that, but obviously it's worth it. It's the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Outtakes on that one, right? And now, the more you know.
They'll be infected later.
Cool.
Or there won't be because I suck at video editing.
Also true.
We hope you enjoyed the new format. If you like the new equipment, you like the new lighting, if you like the new background, hit us up. This is all after the credits. If you stuck around this long, you must like us.
If you want to send us a different background because you don't like this background, also do that.
Also true.
And if you want to send us free beer is free beer. Everybody likes free beer.
Everybody likes free beer.
Unless it's Corona, because you can get a virus from that.
So in these trying times of being stuck in the coronavirus quarantine, we appreciate you coming to Bell Brothers.
No, I just, because it's a geography.
Anything else? Oh, good.
It says that it's supposed to have a dry finish and tannin completes the mental image of a fine red wine.
Interesting. Well, we're not wine drinkers, so...
I don't like wine. It tastes like matches. Red wine, gross.
Alright, overall impression?
Overall impression.